This is Kim with Mom's Creative Moments. Welcome back to my channel. Today we are doing our second video in this series for Blarney Castle and Gardens, and this is actually the entrance to the Castle and Gardens, which we can already tell we're in for a treat because the flowers that were blooming here were amazing, and you'll agree when you see the photographs, I'm sure. We had such a good time at this venue, and lots of stories to tell. So I hope you'll join me, and we'll work through some of the virtual crop sketches, and we'll work through some original sketches, and I think it's going to be a fun day to document in my album. So let's check out my workspace and we'll get started on today's.
All right, so this is my workspace for today, and you'll notice that this layout right here that we did last time, I remember mentioning that this was the October virtual crop sketch number 1, and today's virtual crop sketch is also the October virtual sketch number 1, but remember, we turned this one, so this is not the way that this sketch was normally designed to be. And so, and we did a few other things to modify this to suit my needs in order to accommodate these photos. So today's will be a little bit different because we're going to do the sketch in the direction that it is designed. And we'll see if we need to make any additional changes to that. I'm not sure, again, about the circles. We may or may not add the circle. We'll see. We'll see what happens. Okay, so I have my permanent and repositionable adhesive, as always. I have my multi-purpose tool, which just happens to be out here. I'm not really sure exactly why I left that out here instead of putting it away, but I did. And I'm going to use the Rose Punch today with my Border Maker system. This one is really lovely, and you'll see we have a lot of flowers in the photos that we're doing today, so I thought it would be appropriate to use that, as well as this beautiful paper. This is not CM paper. This came from, where did this come from? I believe this came from scrapbooks.com. And I'm not known for, you know, jumping out of the box and using other companies' paper in my layouts, but the daisies just really spoke to me, and I thought they were just beautiful, and so we're going to use that along with this pretty shamrock paper. And I'm not sure if we'll flip it over and use this side of it or not. We'll have to play with that and see what's going to happen when we get there. I'm going to remove the photo page and stick it up here and grab my trimmer so we can trim up some of this paper and get it ready to go. Okay, so as I mentioned before, the daisies are going to be our main paper, so they're going to be this piece, this large piece. And I'm going to cut them both together. They have this really large plaid on the back, which I don't know, it's a little bit large for me, so I'm not going to really worry about that. Right now we're just going to focus on the daisies because they're so pretty, and you'll see all the flowers that we found when we got to Blarney Castle entrance. We had to take pictures of all of them because they were so pretty. Okay, so I'm cutting this at 7.5, and I need a full 12-inch wide piece. So I'm going to use my left hand because I need pressure. And we'll remove that and remove that. These two pieces are the ones that we need for the layout. These two pieces are just going to kind of hang out and be extra. We may use these. We may use some cardstock. I'm actually thinking maybe some cardstock would be better, because this against this just feels like it's too much to me. So I'm going to grab some dark green. Yeah, I'm going to grab some dark green cardstock. We're going to use that. So to make the mats that need to go around these photos, and this one up here actually too, we are going to cut a 10 by 5.5 inch square, or a rectangle. And since we need 2 of them, I'm going to go ahead and just cut this at 10 inches. A little bit awkward when you have to use the not your dominant arm to do things, but I think I mentioned in the last video that I've been having my hand is a little bit oversensitive right now, because I keep feeling like I can do more than I really ought to be doing with it. So cutting this at 5.5, so we have a 5.5 by 10, 2 5.5 by 10 pieces, and 5.5 really is just all the way to the edge of my trimmer, all the way to the outside edge out here. Alright, so there are those 2 pieces, and I have extra cardstock over here for matting the next photo, but I'm going to wait and make sure the measurements on that before we cut it. Okay, so now we need to punch a couple of borders and possibly cut a couple of circles. And we're going to, I'm going to need my guillotine trimmer to trim some photos here in just a second as well. Okay, so let's go ahead and punch. We're going to punch our border out of this. I know there's a lot of green in what I've got going today. And when you see the photos, hopefully you'll realize why. There's just a lot of color and a lot of stuff going on in the pictures. So we're doing a little bit more of a monochromatic base today. All right, so here's our roses, and they are a chain border maker cartridge, which is a little bit different than the one that I used yesterday. The Rolling Hills is a connected border maker, and so we use the decorative trimmer to separate it from the page. But this one separates itself because it's a chain. And so you can see in the design of the sketch that it really is recommending that we use a chain border maker cartridge. I just chose to be different and to think outside the box on that last one. So this one is a little bit more, has a little bit more of a lean towards the sketch rather than my own interpretation, which is okay too. All right, so got all the little pieces out of there. Toss our confetti in the trash. Okay, so if we need a circle made, we could make it with this, and we could either use the shamrock side or we could flip it over and have a little more luck. Since there is yellow in these flowers, all the colors that are represented here, except black, are represented here. So it would certainly go. The only thing is whether it's too busy. But if it is too busy, there are a couple things we could do. So we're going to set that aside and come back to that thought in a minute. So I'm going to grab the left-hand side of this layout, and we're going to go ahead and get it set up. So we're going to use our daisies. Just trying to make sure. Sometimes my jeeping isn't exactly square to the edge of my page, or if I've cut it just ever so slightly askew, then this edge and this edge don't line up with this edge. So we just do the best we can and try to make it work, right? Okay, so this piece is going to go here. And the roses are going to go down this part, about 1/8 of an inch from the jeeping in the middle. Like so. Okay, and this one's gonna go, I'm putting it about 1 inch from the bottom edge. I think I think it's possible that it was meant to be just a little bit higher, but I'm only putting it about 1 inch from the bottom of the layout. Okay, so this is a little bit less than 1 inch right here, but I think that will be okay. All right, so there's that. Let me grab the photos that are going to go on here, and we can trim some of them up. So these are going to go on this page. This one's going to go on this page. Oops. This one's going on this page. Right? Yeah. I think that's right. Okay. So let me grab my photo trimmer, and we're going to make these work. So we discussed this before. The photos need to be 3 by 5 to fit 3 of them into this mat. So first of all, I'm going to use this one right here, and I'm going to trim this one down because it's very obvious that this one can be trimmed down significantly, because we don't need this part of the wall over here. So we've got that, and we're going to trim this down to 5 inches. So it's going to go, I can see in my photo exactly what I'm going to be trimming off. So we're going to move it so that we don't lose all of the photo at the bottom, and we don't cut anything important off at the top. Like that. All right. And this one, I'm going to trim this to suit my thought, and then we'll see if I need to trim it anymore. since we made this one so much smaller. And this is going to be to 5. Okay. And this one's going to be to 5. And we'll turn this and cut it. Cut it right there, and then we'll see how much more we need to trim that. Okay, so these are going to go like so. And this one's going to go like so, and I need about another 1/2 inch. So we're going to trim about another 1/2 inch off of this one. Which will make it 3 by 5. And those are happy. Okay, so then this is a photo of the map. When I go places like this, I find it really handy to take a picture of the map of the area, if one is available, because they don't always have extra little maps for you. Although the map that we got to this beautiful garden, castle and garden, is really, really cool, and I will show it to you, but it's not going to go on this particular layout, so I'll show it to you when we're gonna be adding it to the layout. But a photo is easy to reference, and you can blow it up and look a little closer if you need to at things. And so I just find it really fun to take pictures of maps so that I can refer back to them while I am visiting, as well as later when I am putting together my scrapbook. Okay, I'm going to trim off just a little bit on the edges of this because we don't need all of this on the edges. And that will leave me a little more room for other things. And then trying to decide if we need to maybe move this down. I think maybe we might need to move that down just a little. And then we can add a mat around this, like we have a mat around these. Okay, let's measure this and see how high this is. Almost 6 inches. So we need about a 6.5 by 5.5 mat for that. So let me go ahead and cut some cardstock. Alright, so we're going to cut some cardstock so that we can create a mat. Five and a half by 6.5. That's what I just said, isn't it? Please tell me I'm right. Okay. And this can go over here. This can go here, and we'll... Okay, I'm going to get these attached, and then we will proceed. So let's move this section. Okay. And I'm going to line up the right hand edges and make the top border and the bottom border as close to the same as I can. Whoa. Did I not put adhesive on the back of that? I didn't. I'm okay. I promise. Alright. All right, so there's that. Now we have room over here. We could add a circle. What are we going to add? How big of a circle do we want to add? So they've got a 5-inch circle here. We could add a 5-inch circle. Let me grab my custom cutting system. All right, so my 5-inch circle is going to be the biggest one. Well, this is a 6-inch. Yeah, so the outer edge of this is 6 inches. We don't want a 6-inch, we want a 5-inch. So that means we're going to use the outside edge of the medium circle to create a 5-inch circle. All right. And I'm just going to use my red blade because it's going to cut the closest to my circle. So I'm going to grab, where did it go? Here it is. This paper. And we're going to cut a 5-inch circle from this paper. And then we'll decide if we want the green side or if we want the other side. But we might need to wait until we have the other part of the layout done before we decide. Let's see. So we could add this in here, something like that. I don't know if I want to cover the map though, so we might need to add this underneath. We could add that right there, and it would pull this color over to here. I can't really write on that, but I can't write on the back either. So either way, whether I use this side or I use the other side, I will still need to add another circle on top of it to add journaling. So we'll leave it this way here for now while I think about it, and we'll decide in a minute. Let's go ahead and set this up here and we'll work on this other page. Now the other page is going to be slightly different, and that is because I want to put these 6 photos on this page. So probably are not going to end up adding any circles at all, but that's okay. It'll all work out. All right, so we're going to go ahead and add our papers that we've already cut. It's fun to expand a 1-page sketch into a 2-page sketch. You can mirror it like I'm doing here. You can flip it so that you're repeating the same page twice. You can turn one upside down if you want to. In other words, put this up here instead of down here again. Just sort of depends on what you want to do. So let's see what happens, shall we? All right, so we're going to put our roses up the middle, just like we did on the other page. So just like that. And they don't stand out a super lot, so if you want them to stand out and then you're using a color that is so similar like this, I could have punched another row of these in white and then layered it, and I might just do that just so that it stands out a little bit better. I'll show you what that looks like in just a second. But let's go ahead and get the photos for this page taken care of. So I'm going to grab my trimmer again, this trimmer, and we're going to cut these beautiful flowers so that they fit into our page. So we want these to be 5 inches by 3 inches. So we're going to cut and hope that we have the prettiest part, right? You don't need the gravel, so I'm going to go ahead and cut the gravel, and then I'm going to turn it over this way, and we're going to then measure it 5 inches. Unfortunately, that trims off a pretty pink at the top. And then which side? I think I'm going to keep these pretty purple flowers over here. So we're going to go 3 inches. There's that. All right, and then let's see. I think we'll go ahead and trim this top portion, maybe a tiny bit from the bottom as well, so that we have some of these pretty little white flowers at the top and some at the bottom, like that. And then let's go this way. All right, like that. And then I'm going to want to trim these as well, but they don't have to stay within the boundaries of this mat. So we can make them a little bit wider. So how much wider can we make them? About 1 inch wider. So we can add, I'm still going to need to trim a little from the sides on these to make it work. So I'm going to just sort of look here and trim the portions that are not necessary, and then we'll see if we need to worry about trimming anything else. This one's going to be trickier to trim because I don't want to trim off any of my face or Haley's face. So this one, let's see. We'll see how that does. But I am definitely going to need to shorten this a little. So let's do 5.5. See if that is enough to trim off of these. Making them all 5.5. All right, let's see how that works. Okay, so these flowers are going to go down here onto this mat. we're going to adhere the outer photos first, and then the inside photo. And the reason I do it in that particular order, and I try to always do that. I may not be perfect. There may be times when I pick up the wrong one and I just go with it. But I do try to, when I'm putting them in a row like this, I try to put the outside ones on and then the one in the center, because you can center the one in the middle easier when you know the parameters of the outer ones. Like so. Okay, so then this is going to go about the same height as we have it on the other. So this is going to go a little bit lower. And then these, you can see we needed a little more room, but I think it will still be okay. I'm going to put this one all the way to the jeeping. Just giving it the same distance on the page between the cardstock and the photo here. And this time I'm going to go ahead and add this one. I think I might need to add this last photo after I mess with that border, because I think the photo may need to go on top of it just a little bit. So I'm not going to add adhesive to this one just yet. Alright, so I'm going to get some white cardstock, and we're going to do a couple things. Alright, so I'm going to punch 2 more of my borders using the white cardstock. So that's for the other one. So we'll get rid of our confetti, which I'm dropping all over the floor. All right, now we're going to cut a slightly smaller circle. How are we going to do that, you might ask? Well, I'm going to, excuse me, I'm going to pull out the templates that I made, and you might have some other, you might still have the plastic ones, but I think I've told you before that I don't have my plastic ones with the red and the blue and the green lines that show me where my circles will go. So I made these to help me be able to judge my circles. So I believe, yeah, so that's my 5-inch circle. So the next smaller circle is going to be this one, and it is the blue blade on the outside of the small circle. However, I think I want to see a little bit more of the pattern around here. So I think I'm going to go with, I could go with either the green blade, Or I could go even smaller and go with the red blade. I think just because I already have it out and I want to see a little more of the pattern, I'm going to go with the red blade. And we'll just cut a white circle from the red. Okay. So, small circle. I need a small circle. Okay, small circle, red blade. Around the outside. All right. So now what we're going to do is I can add this circle to the center here and have an area where I can write, but I still get the decorative effects of the paper. So I can do either of those. Jury is still out. I really don't know which one I like best, so we're gonna tend to this border instead. All right, so I've got this border adhered already, but I put it down with repositionable adhesive. Lucky me. That means that I can go ahead and just pick it right back up again, and I can take this piece that we just punched, and I can go in here and lay this border right on top of it and create a quick white shadow underneath, or highlight. If it's not darker, it's a highlight, right? And then come back in and add adhesive to the back and lay this back down. I'm gonna do it with the highlight on the left, right, highlight on the right, sorry. Yeah, the highlight on the right. And I just want to make sure that when I put this back down, it's straight. And now I can see it a little bit better next to those cute little white daisies. Okay, so we're going to just set that to the side. We're going to do the same thing with this piece. Just like that. And we'll make sure that the highlight's going in the same direction. And then I'm just going to center it in the space between where my mat for the pictures ends and where the jeeping is over here. And then we're going to add this photo. And like I said, it may end up being on top, and it looks like it is, because I'm going to want to make sure it still has a border around it, even though it's not matted. So like that. Okay, now looking at this layout, let's see if we can determine what's going to look best. If we add our circle with the shamrocks, and of course I'll make sure they're right side up. Or if we add our circle with the pots of gold. I almost think the pots of gold is better because it picks up some of this color and moves it over. I don't know, we probably could go either way, but since the greens in this are the same greens as we have in this, I think it'll be okay. We're going to use the hats, the leprechaun hats, and the pots of gold and the horseshoes just for some variety. We'll make sure those are going the right direction. And we'll tuck it under. Over and under and over and under. Like that. All right, now let's see. They actually also have a circle up here and a circle down here, and I'm not going to worry about those, I don't think, at this point, because my pictures are, I don't think I need it. Don't think so. We would not see the circles. So I'm not going to worry about the circles there. Let's see, what else could we do? I'm gonna grab some stickers. Let's see. Maybe those. Maybe those. Maybe one of those. Let's see what we can make come together. I think I'm going to use the we definitely need to remember to use this one, the Kissing the Blarney Stone. There's some stories, definite stories that go with that. Here's another one, Kissing the Stone. The Emerald Isle, a symphony of green. Definitely is that. We're going to put this up here to pull a little bit of that pretty blue, tiny bit up into that corner. right. And I wish I knew more about this river, but there was a bridge we walked across because the path to get to the castle went across a bridge that you're going to see more of in the coming layouts. And so that's where that's what this water is right here. So you'll see more of that in coming days. All right, I think that's all I'm going to worry about. It's just a couple of embellishments, and I'll journal right here to talk about the flowers and the whys and wherefores of everything. My cute mama down here in the corner. Anyway, so just a little bit about Blarney Castle and Gardens. You can see how vast it is here in this photo. We really barely touched the surface of what you can see when you go here. And we were there for probably 4 or 5 hours, I want to say. We got there in the morning and we had a late lunch, mid-afternoon lunch. Afterwards, there's not only these beautiful flowers, there are several individual gardens there. There's the main castle that is the highlight that everyone wants to go to. There's this residence that is also on the premises. There's an additional area that is over this direction that my kids and my sister and cousin walked over to, that has a lot of ruins and folklore associated with it, which is pretty amazing and fun to learn about. So really, you could come here, and if you walked all the way around, I think it would probably, and if you saw everything, it would probably take you at least a day, a full day, to see everything there. So, it all depends on what you want to see. The castle is a fairly easy walk from the entrance, but after a certain point in the castle, it is not wheelchair accessible. And you need to be able to have hiking shoes, because as you'll see in the photos that are going to be in layouts coming up, to get up to the top of the castle, which is where you have to go if you want to see the Blarney Stone, the steps are very narrow and it's a little treacherous. So, but you can get up and just inside the castle without needing to climb all the way up there. If it's not important to you to see the Blarney Stone, then that's the route you want to take. Several of us did that. So, things to think about. And I'll be sharing photos of all of that in the coming days and weeks. So I hope you'll tune back in to see that. And I hope this has been a fun layout for you to see. It's sometimes interesting to see the difference between using the same type of layout in the looks, because you can see this one, it's the same layout, it's just turned, and it looks completely different, I think, because we changed the border maker, or the border that's on it. We rotated it, we changed embellishments, the photos are aligned differently, but it just looks completely new. So don't be afraid to rotate and alter your sketches. They're just here for inspiration to get you started, and then you can modify them however you need to. Thanks so much for joining me today. Until next time, I hope you have many more creative moments. Make it a great day.